All right, welcome back to Myrna and Jenn read the Apocrypha.
Do you know what we're doing today?
I don't know. I'm just here. You said get on, I got on.
Oh, there it is.
All right. We're back to the Apocrypha, and I'm kind of excited because we're moving to a new type of phase. I read a couple of those verses, so I'm kind of a little ahead. So what we did was we've gone through Abraham and all of his household and how he organized things in his relationship with God. And he had Ishmael, Isaac, and then Isaac had Jacob. So these are our main characters at this time as we're reading this. So we're in chapter 23 of the Book of Jubilees. So we're inching closer to halfway.
I'm waiting
for that milestone.
Yes, it is going to be a milestone.
Yes, but this book has been amazing.
Oh, it has.
I'm glad we picked it now because now we can kind of compare some of these things to the next set of books we read because they're all kind of about the same set of people, just in a different viewpoint. So, and then I think there's a couple of books that are like different, totally different. But I'm excited to see the view from different perspectives. So, this one kind of seems to be the view from someone that God has put down here.
Yes, it does.
To watch, help, I don't know, maybe just to write in the book what happens. So this kind of seems to be from somebody else's view like that, not from anybody in the story's view.
Correct.
Okay, so let's get going because this one actually is a long one. Chapter 23. I will start with verse 1. And he placed 2 fingers of Jacob on his eyes, and he blessed the God of gods, and he covered his face and stretched out his feet and slept the sleep of eternity, and was gathered to his fathers. And notwithstanding all this, Jacob was lying in his bosom, and knew not that Abraham, his father's father, was dead. And Jacob awoke from his sleep, and beheld Abraham was cold as ice. And he said, Father, Father. But there was none that spake, and he knew that he was dead. So
that is a description.
I kind of love the way it says that he stretched out his feet and slept the sleep of eternity.
I do like that. It's poetic to me.
Yes, I love that.
And was gathered to his fathers.
Yes.
Like, that's just a beautiful sentence.
Yeah, I love that. It just kind of, it's a descriptive but yet soft way of saying that he died. But as we left off in the last chapter, Jacob was having a moment with Abraham as they spent some time talking and embracing of the life that they've had.
Right.
They knew Abraham was getting old. I don't know that they knew that he was going to die here. It seems like he did though, because he I think what he did was he had Jacob close his eyes, right? Because your eyes, if someone doesn't close them like this, when you die they pop open because that's the relaxed state of your eyelids. So I think he kind of on purpose had him do that with his eyes, and he just knew it was happening. So that is very interesting to me.
Okay, I will say, okay, as I'm reading that, the thing that stood out to me, or as you were reading it, and behold, Abraham was cold as ice. I'm like, what an interesting way of describing that, because they live in a desert, and it's cold as ice. Now, we think of ice cubes usually when we think of ice, but if you lived in Alaska, you probably think of something different. But I just looked it up for a split second, like temperature-wise, does it get cold as ice? Like, how cold does it get there? Did you know in the Jerusalem region that they occasionally get snow in the higher regions, like Jerusalem and the Galilee?
No, I did not know that.
I did not know that. It can get really cold. I did not know it could snow. It could snow in Jerusalem. Never heard that.
Wow,
Okay, I've been educated. There you go, everyone. It can snow in Galilee.
Yeah. Okay, I gotta make something up here because I'm kind of curious.
It was nice though that there's been death enough now that they understand the signs of when a person is dead.
Okay, I was curious about the root of origin root of ice. It's a Proto-Germanic.
So before German, kind of before the German language, because it's one of the big languages.
Yeah, it ultimately traces back to the Proto-Indo-European root. And I can't pronounce it. It's spelled H-E-Y-H, meaning ice frost.
So it must be like that icy frost that can be on the ground in the cold times.
Yeah.
In winter.
And not necessarily an ice cube.
Correct.
But you can see, it's like when you see icicles growing on something. I think that's what they're talking about.
That coldness, that feeling of coldness out there. It just is an interesting thing to say in a desert, because I live in a desert. I don't live in California. I don't live in the high desert, because in the high desert, which we consider past the mountains, it actually does snow and it does go into freezing temperatures. And I always tell people, if you're coming into California during winter, it might be nice weather here, but when you're getting through the pass, like, you should have blankets and stuff in your car, because you could get stuck out there and you are going to be cold. Bring your jackets, they're like, it is going to get very cold. So
I was just curious.
I don't think of Jerusalem that way.
Yeah, I was just curious if they actually had the word ice. But I'm thinking that it's more what we would call frost.
Right.
But their word for it was ice. And we've kind of switched it a little bit. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, that's what I was curious about. If that was a really valid word, did they really use the word ice?
That is what struck me with that. Like, oh, that is an interesting word to use there. So
Yeah.
now we kind of figured
I
that one
broke
out.
it down. I broke it
Apparently,
down.
I did look at it, and when I put snow in Jerusalem, it came up as snow in Jerusalem 2024, and the news report is Israel sees its first snow of the season. I did not know that it snowed in Israel. I'm just
It had a
sorry.
season.
It's that they have a season. I'm sorry. It's just blowing my mind right now. All right.
All right.
Okay,
So,
here we continue to see what happens. 4. And
Mhm.
he rose from his bosom and ran and told Rebekah his mother. And Rebekah went to Isaac in the night and told him. And they went together, and Jacob with them. And a lamp was in his hand. And when they had gone in, they found Abraham lying dead. And Isaac fell on the face of his father and wept and kissed him. And the voices were heard in the house of Abraham. And Ishmael his son arose and went to Abraham his father and wept over Abraham his father, he and all the house of Abraham. And they wept with a great weeping.
well, no, duh. I think he was a great man.
Yeah, it like brings back memories of when my dad died. And
right.
that moment of realizing that they've passed, and that is exactly how a family reacts to it all.
Yeah, yeah.
It's in the middle of the night, and people are now up and moving because things have to be figured out and considered. And Ishmael's like, "What? My dad has died, and he's going in." And it's just having that moment. But I'm glad that Ishmael and all of them are there for it, so that they could be there for the family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is quite a moment to have a parent pass away, and I think it's even more powerful to have a father pass away. And I've only had a mother, so I think
they're
extremely powerful.
and you've had your mom pass. I've had my dad pass. I think that there's a difference in reactions for people.
Oh, I do. I think that too.
Because of the position that fathers hold and positions that mother hold, it hits you differently.
Yeah, and your relationship with them.
Yes.
And so everybody's going to take it a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So now everybody's
hustling around.
Hustling around, and I guess we're going to start getting some things done here. Okay, 7. And his sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in a double cave near Sarah, his wife, and they wept for him 40 days. All the men of his house, and Isaac and Ishmael, and all their sons, and all the sons of Keturah, in their places, and the days of weeping for Abraham were ended. And he lived 3 jubilees and 4 weeks of years, 175 years, and completed the days of his life, being old and full of days. For the days of the forefathers of their life were 19 jubilees. And after the flood, we talked about this before. After the flood, they began to grow less than 19 jubilees, and to decrease in jubilees, and to grow old quickly, and to be full of their days by reason of manyfold tribulation and the wickedness of their ways, with the exception of Abraham.
Okay, I'm looking that term up. Manifold tribulation, in a biblical context, refers to enduring many kinds of trials and difficulties, often seen as a testing and refining process of faith. Okay, and it implies a variety of trials, so it has a connotation of that. So there it is, Myrna, in a written document that after the flood. So originally, people were living 19 jubilees, right? 19 jubilees.
That's 133.
19 jubilees is 931 years, because each of them is 50 years, and 19 times 50 is 950 minus 19 years. So a jubilee is like 50 years. So 19 jubilees is 950 years. They were living that long, and now they're not living that long. It's written down.
Right, and now it says that
and why
they're decreasing because of, and they grow old quickly because of the tribulation and wickedness that is in the world, or in their lives also. Just being in the world affects you in your body and the way it behaves and works. It doesn't need to be you being bad. It still affects your body.
So interesting, right?
Yeah, we talked about it many times. This whole years thing really has been interesting to watch happen. But now I think we're down to like the same as what we are now.
Right.
But let's find out if we have any more information.
Okay, this is getting interesting. For Abraham was perfect in all his deeds with the Lord, and well-pleasing in righteousness all the days of his life. And behold, he did not complete 4 jubilees in his life, when he had grown old by reason of the wickedness, and was full of his days. And all the generations which shall arise from this time until the day of the great judgment shall grow old quickly, before they complete 2 jubilees. That's 100 years. And their knowledge shall forsake them by reason of their old age. Land, all their knowledge shall vanish away. And in those days, if a man live a jubilee and a half of years, they shall say regarding him, he has lived long, and the greater part of his days are pain and sorrow and tribulation, and there is no peace.
Okay, go back to 11. I think the way that's supposed to read, that last part, is, and their knowledge shall forsake them by reason of their old age, and all their knowledge shall vanish away. I think that L was actually supposed to be a bracket.
Yes, I agree. So
in other words, Alzheimer's.
Myrna, this document was written how long ago? And it's saying that in the end, going towards judgment, you're going to get, before they complete 2 jubilees, they're going to die. When's the last time you actually knew? I mean, President Nelson is 100, but when's the last time you knew a person who lived to be 100?
I've never known one. I've only looked it up.
Right. I've never known one.
Never personally known one.
And so I'm looking at this like, so you're not even going to get to 100 anymore. And we're going to say that if you live a Jubilee and a half, a Jubilee is 50 and a half is 25. So 75 years, they shall say he has lived long. Yeah. Do you think a 75-year-old person who dies has lived long? Oh yeah, we totally believe that.
Totally.
I don't know what to say to this.
And I don't know. I think there's very few people, not that there's not any, but there's very few people, I think, that even get into their 90s.
Oh yeah.
There's a handful, but in comparison to 75, it's hardly any. I think 75 is like a normal spot. And then you have to be just grateful for every year after.
So right now, would you like to know the average age of a person who dies in the U.S.?
Bring it on.
It is 77 years old.
That's close. 77.
In the U.S., the average life expectancy for a man is around 75 years old, while a woman's is about 80.
Well, yeah. But I don't know if that's going to keep going because we've got a lot of women. I think the reason in the past that the men that live as long as the women, people won't believe this, but this is what I believe, is the stress and physical exertion they had to have to go to work to support their family. Even if it's just in an office, that really wears down your body.
Yes, it does.
And I think that's why the men were dying sooner than the women. Not that raising children is not hard, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But going out into that work field and trying to be competitive and make money for other people to live, what you're responsible for, really puts a strain on your body, not just your mind.
Right.
But we have a lot of women that have gone into workforce. So it'll be interesting to see if that
it ends up changing.
Women's number comes down a little more.
Interesting.
That's interesting.
Well, there it is, Myrna. Things that we have been suggesting, that is because of the words, right? Because of the document, that something was happening. And here it's saying after the flood, they began to grow less than 19 Jubilees. And in the end days, it's not even going to be, it's going to be a Jubilee and a half. And I'm letting you know right now, that is actually true. Who could have predicted it back then? Right?
I don't know of anybody.
Who could have predicted that thousands of years ago? And we're saying it's thousands of years ago because this is before even Christ came. And that's been 2026 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Let's see what else he has to say.
Okay, let's see. Let's keep going. For the calamity follows on calamity, and wound on wound, and tribulation on tribulation, and evil tidings on evil tidings, and illness on illness, and famine. Oh, let's see, wait, illness on illness. I was just got to go. I just was going. And all evil judgments, such as these, one with another, illness and overthrow, and snow and frost, and ice and fever and chills, and torpor and famine, and death and sword and captivity, and all kinds of calamities and pains. And all these shall come on an evil generation, which transgresses on the earth. Their works are unclean. Oh, the works are uncleanness and fornication and pollution and abomination. Then they shall say, the days of the forefathers were many, even unto 1,000 years, and were good. But behold, the days of our life, if a man has lived many, are 80 years and 10. And if he is strong, 80 years, and those evil. And there is no peace in the days of this evil generation. Okay, that was a lot of sadness. But does this not explain? Well, it's kind of what I have always said. And people would say, why would God allow people or make it so people are starving or have pain or are hurting or get sick and die and all of these things? Because they can't imagine that a God would be that mean. Well, the truth of the matter is it's not God's fault.
It's man's fault.
For us being evil, it has brought a strain and stress on our bodies that we don't live as long as we used to.
Yep.
And when I talk to people, that's what I've said to them. I said, well, it's not God doing it. It's being human. Living in a fallen world where all of these things exist. He didn't make them exist. Nope. We brought them on ourselves. And so I love that this is actually backing me up in the things that I've said.
And the word torpor there?
Yes,
let me see how that is.
Torpor.
Torpor. It's going to pronounce torpor, and it means like you're inactive, lethargic.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just, their works are uncleanness and fornication and pollution and abominations. I'm going to say, according to God, that's the world we live in right now. Full of fornication, pollution, abominations according to God's laws, and it's uncleanness. Have you been to some cities recently?
Yeah,
I'm going to say even physically unclean. Yeah, not just spiritually.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily sure that they're talking about it that way, but it is. There's just some people that it seems to me in some places we've gone backwards rather than moving forward. Yeah, taking care of ourselves and having clean homes and all of those things. We've kind of gone backwards in some countries.
Okay, buckle up because we continue in what you're talking about these last days.
Okay, well, let's get moving.
And in that generation, the sons shall convict their fathers and their elders of sin and unrighteousness, and of the words of their mouth and the great wickedness which they perpetrate, and concerning their forsaking the covenant which the Lord made between them and him, that they should observe and do all his commandments and his ordinances and all his laws without departing either to the right hand or the left. For all have done evil, and every mouth speaks iniquity, and all their works are an uncleanness and an abomination, and all their ways are pollution, uncleanness, and destruction. Behold, the earth shall be destroyed on account of all their works, and there shall be no seed of the vine, and no oil, for their works are altogether faithless, and they shall all perish together, beasts and cattle and birds, and all the fish of the sea, on account of the children of men.
Okay, did we read 15?
Didn't you read 15? Oh, did I miss
No,
one?
wait, hang
Yes.
on. 6, 9,
Yeah, you
12,
did this three score
15.
years, three
Yeah.
score years and 10.
15, yeah. Never mind. I was having a moment.
Okay.
You're good, you're good. It sounds like everybody, even the animals are being affected.
Well, they
by the
are.
evil.
Well, that is what the suggestion here is. That
Yeah.
because of the evilness, everything's being affected and having problems.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And God can't step in because these are our choices.
Yep.
Right? He's allowing it to have our
As a
choices.
humankind, these are our choices as a huge group together.
Yeah.
This is crazy, Myrna.
Okay, would that not be hard to watch, though? Would that not be hard to watch as a parent?
Oh my gosh, that'd be so hard.
That would be so hard to watch. And not do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a helicopter dad.
That's how much he prizes agency.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is literally how much he prizes your personal agency.
Yeah.
Man, that I've never, like, this just describes our day. I'll just say it.
Oh,
It
yeah.
describes
It
our
does.
day. Let's see more about our day, because obviously people do not follow the commandments or his laws. And wow. So 19, he continues more about our day.
And they shall strive one with another, the young with the old, and the old with the young, the poor with the rich, and the lowly with the great, and the beggar with the prince, on account of the law and the covenant. For they have forgotten commandment and covenant, and feasts, and months, and Sabbaths, and jubilees, and all judgments. And they shall stand with bows and swords, and war to turn them back into the way. But they shall not return until much blood has been shed on the earth, one by another. And those who have escaped shall not return from their wickedness to the way of righteousness, but they shall all exalt themselves to deceit and wealth, that they may each take all that is his neighbor's. And they shall name the great name, but not in truth and not in righteousness. And they shall defile the holy of holies with their uncleanness and corruption of their pollution. Okay, I don't always, well, we haven't actually talked about this all on this podcast, but that last verse, 21,
Mm-hmm.
that just reminds me of exactly what we're seeing in the government of the United States of America.
Mm.
I'm not saying it doesn't exist anywhere else, but they did take, we're now finding they did take our money and use it for unrighteous things, and basically buy 2 additional fridges to put their ice cream in.
Yes.
Rather than use it for what we thought it was being used for, to
Yes.
feed the hungry and clothe the naked. That verse right there, you can just throw that right up there on our Congress and House of Representatives. Boom. That is everything that we have seen in the last year and a half.
Man.
And when was this written?
Oh, I will look up and see if we can get
And
a
they
better
shall
reference.
exalt themselves to deceit and wealth. And they shall name the great name. And they did. They sat there and would spat out what religion they are, and that they are doing this in being examples for God and whatever.
So this was written probably 2,200 years ago. 2,200 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That's a long time. That's 2 millennia where this is being predicted.
Yeah. Well, it was predicted before that. Well,
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe we don't know. I guess we can't speculate that. I was going to say a lot of writings came many, many years after the event happened.
Yes.
But we're not necessarily really sure who wrote this.
Not
so
100%.
So we can't really say when
Um,
it was written. But the event that happened was even many, I would say many years before this was written.
Yes, because even though that these stories were all there, the version of it that we have written down probably came 2,200 years ago, but the stories themselves are even older.
The events, yeah.
The events are even older. So,
yeah.
But I mean, that's somebody saying, man, and the part that gets me, and they shall defy the Holy of Holies. That's talking about the temple with their uncleanness and corruption of their pollution. And it gives that feeling of their words are far from me, right? Their words say things, and yet their actions are so far from me. Mm-hmm. Man, we are a fallen world.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, and the writer of this continues.
We're not done yet.
We are not done yet.
Buckle up.
And a great punishment shall befall the deeds of this generation from the Lord. And he will give them over to the sword, and to judgment, and to captivity, and to be plundered and devoured. And he will wake up against them the sinners of the Gentiles, who have neither mercy nor compassion, and who shall respect the person of none, neither old nor young, nor anyone, for they are more wicked and strong to do evil than all the children of men. And they shall use violence against Israel, and transgression against Jacob, and much blood shall be shed upon the earth, and there shall be none to gather and none to bury. In those days they shall cry aloud and cry and pray that they may be saved from the hand of the sinners of the Gentiles, but none shall be saved.
And so who do you think they're talking about? That have no mercy nor compassion, and who shall respect the person of none, either old or young. For they are more wicked and strong to do evil than all the children of men.
Well, do we see these days some people that have no mercy or compassion?
He's talking about a specific person, though. He says, and he will wake up against the sinners of the Gentiles,
Oh, you're correct.
who have neither mercy nor compassion and respect the person of God. For they are wicked and more wicked and strong to do evil than all the children of men. Is that the army of Lucifer?
I don't know. That is one of the things about reading the Apocrypha, that sometimes the pronouns are hard to understand who they're referencing, because sometimes it's not quite clear who in this instance is the he.
Well, further up, they're talking about the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Lord will give them over to the sword and to the judgment and to captivity and to plundering and to
And
devouring.
it's possibly
And
him.
he
Will wake up against them, the sinners of the Gentiles.
So in other words, he's not going to get in the way when they get punished for things that they have done, however it will happen.
But there will be violence against Israel and transgression against Jacob, and much blood shall be shed upon the earth.
And I know that this is probably talking about when Jacob's there, but we're seeing it happen right now.
Yeah, we are.
And it is still against Jacob. It's still that house of Jacob, right?
Mm-hmm.
That they are still against. All right.
Okay.
Let's see some more here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the heads of the children shall be white with gray hair, and a child of 3 weeks shall appear old like a man of 100 years, and their stature shall be destroyed by tribulation and oppression. And in those days the children shall begin to study the laws, and to seek the commandments, and to return to the path of righteousness. And the days shall begin to grow many and increase amongst those children of men, till their days draw nigh to 1,000 years, and a greater number of years than before was the number of days. Okay, we got to break this one down. I don't understand verse 5. Does that mean that they were going to have
What do you mean, verse 5?
people 25?
Uh-huh.
Does that mean we're going to have children that are born with more children that are born with that disease where they look like an old man?
I don't know.
But it does sound like in 26 that the children are the ones that are going to start to bring the nation or the people back to their Savior or to their Heavenly Father.
Correct. That is what it seems to be saying. But the children with the heads, I'm going to see if there's some reference or something.
Okay, wait. We're talking about 1,000 years. Are we talking about the millennium?
I'm wondering if that is what we are talking about. So it's kind of
go ahead.
It just seems like it's referencing like the children even that are born are going to be experiencing. I say that it's coming off metaphorical, that the children, even 3 weeks old, that there will be so much tribulation and sorrow, like by the time a person turns 100, right, they've grown gray because of all of this, that even a child like at 3 weeks will have gray hair because so much tribulation and sorrow will be upon them. That's how it's kind of coming off. and their stature shall be destroyed by tribulation and oppression. So much is going to be on them at such a young age. And the children will start to study the laws and come back to God, which will be good.
Okay, 27, I think, because I cheated and read 28. I think 27 is saying, okay, the children.
Let's read it, and maybe we'll have more.
Okay, well, go ahead and read your 3, and we'll comment on all 6.
Okay. And the days shall begin to grow many and increase amongst those children of men till their days draw nigh to one. Oh, you read that one, right? Sorry, 28. And there shall be no old man, nor one who is not satisfied with his days, for all shall be as children in use. And all their days they shall complete and live in peace and in joy. And there shall be no Satan or any evil destroyer. For all their days shall be days of blessing and healing. And at that time the Lord will heal his servants, and they shall rise up and see great peace and drive out their adversaries. And the righteous shall see and be thankful and rejoice with joy forever and ever, and shall see all their judgments and all their curses on their enemies.
Okay, so this is what I didn't read 30 where it talked about not 30 29. I didn't read that. I read 28. Where it says there's no old man. So I thought what we're seeing is there is this evil that is happening, and then the children will begin to bring people back, and then the millennium will begin. And Satan and people will change, and then Satan won't be there because everybody will change, and he will be bound because we will not let him influence us. Not because of any other thing than that we will be the people on the earth. I'm not saying me, but the people on the earth, and if I'm here, I will be part of it, but they will be so righteous that they will not allow him to influence them. So therefore, in a sense, he is bound because he can't do anything. So this is interesting to see this process that we might be going into the millennium with.
Correct. And I think that's really an interesting way of seeing it, because that 1,000 years, it does speak to the millennium here. It really is speaking to the millennium.
I think it is.
So one of the signs that we're heading in that direction is the children are returning to God and the gospel. And so I'm going to suggest, Myrna, people have been told that if they raise their children up in the way that they should go, that even if they go down other paths and go away, that they have been promised that their children, like, don't worry, I've got your children. I'm wondering if this is some part of that even though children are going off in other directions, at a point they will see it and they will be returning and saying, oh no, people, you all need to be returning to God.
Yeah. But I think it's also even broader than our church, because I think it's also that the world itself will come back and acknowledge God.
Yes.
Right now, those that believe in atheism are really loud.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that once they leave a religion, not just ours, but ours also, once they leave a religion, they go to atheism.
There's not many places to go.
Right? Well, they just put God off. It's not even that church doesn't work for them.
No, it's just
God doesn't work for them. Right? So they go to, atheism. So, and I know I said that wrong, but so I think what happens here is just the world itself, from any religion, they're coming back to religion, even if it's not just the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Correct.
You will be seeing your Catholics, your Baptists, your any type of religion out there, and I'm sorry I don't know them all. They will be coming back to God.
Yes.
And I do believe that the promises that we've been given from the prophets in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, that if we are sealed together in the temple, and our children are born in the covenant, which means they were born after we are sealed, or they are sealed to us, that if they are to depart from us, if we stay true to our covenants we've made with our Heavenly Father and our Savior, that they will come back. That is the promise that we have been given, that they will come back. Of course, it has to be in their own due time and when they're ready to do that. But if we stay true to our covenants, they will come back. And I think this might be what we're seeing here also. But I think we're going to be seeing it with other religions.
Oh, I think we're seeing
it. Come back to God.
Oh, I think we're going to see it in mass in the world. I agree with you. I think it's going to be broader than that. It's just that testimony or whatever you call it from the prophets. That declaration is the first thing that was brought to mind for scripture.
No, you're right. Right.
So I find this very interesting that's the suggestion as the millennium in that will happen to usher us into the millennium.
Yeah.
And then after that, of course, the people will be healed, the great, wonderful things, joy, and all of that. And I do love and shall see all their judgments and all their curses on their enemies, because there's a quote from a show about a guy that, he was afraid that he was going to be inappropriate with a child. And a pastor person is like, there's a special kind of hell. There's a special kind of hell for you.
Yeah, I've heard that many times.
And so I sit there and go, that seems to be that place of, I'm not here to judge. God is going to judge you, and there will be curses upon the enemies who have proven their evilness to God. Yeah. So yeah. I think there's a place where some people are like, and I shouldn't joy in that necessarily, but some part of it is I am vindicated by God that was unrighteousness. I try not to dwell there because vindication is it's so nice to hold on to because you want to feel vindicated. But all just so interesting. There are a couple of verses left, and
so let's just finish it up.
Yep.
And their bones shall rest in the earth, and their spirits shall have much joy. And they shall know that it is the Lord who executes judgment and shows mercy to hundreds and thousands and to all that love him. And do thou, Moses, write down these words, for thus are they written, and they record them on the heavenly tablets for a testimony for the generations forever.
Wow. So this part of it, the prophecy, because that's what this part is here. Prophecy, and do thou, Moses, write the prophecy down.
I love that line. He shows mercy. He gives judgment to those who deserve judgment, and shows mercy to hundreds and thousands, to all love him.
And
how do we know if someone...
I know, I was going to say it, Myrna. And how do we show love to God? If ye love me,
keep my commandments.
Even the Apocrypha states that.
It's beautiful.
Yes.
That we have this amazing words that are given about Israel and the blessing that goes through Jacob also. Anyway,
I think this is so interesting, and so this was unexpected today. that it was going to be a lot of it was going to be a prophecy about the last days.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that
Because
either.
we're in them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
By the description alone, we are in them.
Mm-hmm.
We are only living to barely 2 jubilees, if that a jubilee and a half.
Yeah.
It is completely accurate.
Yeah.
And it's because of the wickedness and iniquity, uncleanness, pollution, all of these things of mankind. That's why.
Yep. All right.
Man.
Crazy. Okay. Well, thanks for being here with us. And if you like what we're talking about, what we're reading, please hit the like button and subscribe. It will tell you when we bring out our next video.
Yep.
I try to put them out, and I think I've been successful, Monday mornings.
Yep.
So like and subscribe so you know when they come out. And we're glad you come and listen to us. And this was just a very enjoyable discussion today. Mm-hmm. And with that, we just want to remind you, Apocrypha rules. All right. You have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.